Hi everyone, this is JaneTaff the Sage and
Deanna Vestal, your career academy.
with the Lipstick Leadership Legacy Podcast. This episode is sponsored by the Career Path Development Group and Taff Enterprises. This is our fourth podcast.
Number
Fourth, yes. And the Holiday Funk Part 2, having an attitude now with gratitude.
Yes, and since we're still new, let us just remind you what we're all about. The Lipstick Leadership Legacy Podcast is hosted by two sassy, intelligent, tell it like it is women right here in the Sacramento, California area. We dish about culture, women in leadership, current events, and any other juicy topics that come to mind that affect the leadership experience. Our goal with you is to inform, entertain, and evoke curiosity, inspiring you to have provocative conversations in the workplace, in your personal relationships, and with your friends and loved ones. So we're really glad that you came to join us today on our YouTube channel. But did you know that we also have did you also know that we are a podcast hosted on Buzzsprout? Check it out so you can keep up with all that we have going on.
All right, Deanna. Last week we talked about having an attitude about gratitude, where we talked about how difficult it really can be for some of us, including ourselves, during the holidays and what to do about it. And now we're in the second week of this holiday funk conversation. What's new this week?
Well, this week we're bringing in the flip side of the funk. You might still have an attitude, but now you can start experiencing the gratitude.
That's right. You know, after a time, you may actually surprise yourself with having still an attitude and then some gratitude sneaking itself in. You still feel a little funky, but now some light, joy, excitement, willingness to join the fun might start shining through. This is what happened to me this year. It surprised me. And Deanna, I know you made some observations and you were laughing at me earlier when we were talking about this, but it did surprise me because this is one of the first years that I really felt it.
I have to jump in because it's so true. We were talking about an attitude with gratitude, and an attitude about gratitude, and as we, daily though. And as the conversation unfolds, each time we actually talk about the experience, I saw you light up in the fact that, number one, you had all your Christmas gifts purchased and what's that called? Not folded, but wrapped. Hi, that's how far out of the loop I am. What do you call what we do with Christmas? They were wrapped. And you were lit up about it. And it was so fun to experience that I was like, hold on a minute, Jane. Let's get one thing straight. You might have an attitude about certain things, but there has obviously been a bridge crossed, and the joy you experienced this year that I can feel in the gifts and the preparation of it all.
Definitely. And I think I finally got to the point where I gave myself permission to opt in, join the fun, say it's okay, and not opt out as a reflex because of all the years I've spent not wanting to connect, not wanting to be part of it. I really just found that it's a new way to play in this new feeling about the holidays. Really, it's very, very new to me. And I think it's really starting to break those negative connections I have when it comes to the holidays, which again is brand new. So, but we have a message too for people who really do enjoy the holidays, and maybe it's not you being funky, but it's one of your girlfriends. You know who I'm talking about, because if it's not you, it might be them, right? And remember, it's okay for you to love the holidays and not take it personally when she gets funky or he gets funky around the holidays, because it's probably something we've been describing. It could be something related to their past. It could be a weird connection to the holidays that always made them uptight or stressed. But, we really say, let them be funky. Don't personalize that, and make sure you give them a little bit of space and be that safe person for them to express that struggle, because it is really hard to feel different than what Hallmark and Walmart and Target are telling you to feel like, right? You really feel like an alien at this time. What do you think, Deanna?
I absolutely agree. And I think it is a technique around allowing yourself to be funky if you're funky, and allowing your girlfriend to be cheerful when she's cheerful, and really embracing both sides of that. And we have a tendency in our culture to compare and to want what we think or what we perceive the other person is having. When really true connection happens in the moment of allowing. And I'm so glad to have a relationship with you and be able to share with our listeners how that actually occurs. Because it's a thing. We're both happy and sad, angry, frustrated, and content and at peace all at once. And it is okay. It really is.
Yeah, and I really believe, both you and I, Deanna, are coaches, and we talk about our coaching approach is a whole person approach, meaning you're not just a professional. You're not just a mom. You're not just a spouse. You're not just a friend. You're all those things at the same time. If you're all those roles at the same time, you can be all those feelings at the same time, too.
Well
And during
said.
the holidays, all of those feelings collide. And with collision can come some casualty. Usually it starts with you,
Yeah.
right? You become the first casualty in those collision of feelings, and it's real. It's real,
It
isn't
really
it?
is. It really is. And that is where the self-talk and some techniques combined with true friendships and maybe your favorite podcast to let it all hang out and to recover and regroup really make a network, a system of contributing agents to be okay.
Yeah, there's just a lot of pressure from all sides, whether it be media, people you love, people you admire, right? And you have to ask yourself, just like we asked you last week, and honestly, if you missed last week's podcast episode, check it out on our channel. But we went into all of those things. But I want to ask you again, what if you didn't do those things that bring you pressure? What if you didn't decorate your house? What if you didn't host the full meal? Maybe you let someone else host and you brought your special dish instead, one that brings you joy. What if you only bought the presents that you felt like buying, or committed to a budget so that you can have a little financial easing emotionally and mentally? So, what if you didn't do those things? Because we all experience a little bit of holiday funkiness. Even the best of us who love it, right? I mean, I have girlfriends who absolutely have been celebrating with tree out since late October. And even still, they're like, if I need to go to the store one more
Oh my
time.
God.
I mean, I heard from my mother-in-law yesterday, and the weariness in her voice, knowing she has to buy for 13 grandkids. She said, we have to head to the store one more time. And I thought, don't let me be another pressure. I'm not going to tell you no. You do what feels good. You buy what you want. It's about that, the gift from the heart.
Absolutely.
And there's so many things to celebrate. And I know for you, what's really important for you to get through it are a couple of things. Share your tips, Deanna.
I like to stop what I'm doing and breathe. I have noticed over years of experience that I have what we call short breaths in my family, right? It can be induced by overeating, where you have to sit down, pop in a movie, and rest because you have eaten too much. And what's really also true is that when we are in the swing, we call it the swing because we're women, right? But it can also be filled with angst that we're pushing under the surface to get things done on time. And it comes with a hyperventilated breath, breathing pattern. And so when I learned about the power of proper breathing, I began to engage in a practice of one deep cleansing breath anytime when I notice that I'm feeling hyperactive, when I start experiencing angst from conversations that we have over the holidays, or simply because time is not on my side, which time for me is rarely on my side. And so I have to give credence to the power of proper breathing, and then maybe even do an extended version of what I know to induce additional breathing techniques that might be a longer period of time. Like, please excuse me, and walk out of the room and then re-engage.
Yeah.
What do you do? What about you?
I remember learning Lamaze when because I was a very young mom, I went to Lamaze classes, back in the day.
Yeah, back in the day.
And Lamaze taught me to not only control my breathing, but the purpose of controlling my breathing. For me, it was focusing away from pain, right? It was getting me to focus on breath rather than pain. Because for all of you who've ever given birth, there's some pain involved.
Yeah.
And focusing on your breathing and getting yourself to regulate your feelings, right? Or what your mind is starting to focus on was really, really helpful. So I'm with you on the breath thing. Give us a few techniques that you've learned.
Sure, my pleasure. I encourage everyone to actually do some research on the Soma techniques, which is SOMA. And you may already be practicing or at least familiar with yoga as an exercise for physical exertion, but it is also a breathing technique which helps align all of our energy centers and organs. I believe in one deep cleansing breath in the moment because it gives us a chance to slow our heart and minds from racing. So just matter of fact, may I make an example right now? How do you feel about that? Okay, so let's take a deep breath. Inhale for 4 beats. Hold that breath and release for 8 beats. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And you can actually add a mantra to that. On the inhale breath, embracing love and light, and hold, I am, release. And as you exhale, envisioning a release, and then re-engage. That alone is enough to heighten our awareness, provide us with a sense of center and peace, so that when we re-engage in whatever activity or conversation, we just appear to have it all together, which, of course, is good in the moment, but it's all about how we feel.
Yeah, that's good stuff. I feel better just doing that exercise 2 times with you.
Me
so
too.
That is a good exercise. I really challenge our listeners to try that. If you have never heard of breathing techniques before, I really invite you to lean into some research about breathing. Deanna, you and I talk about, well, we breathe because that's how we stay alive. Well, yes, but there's actually a better mind-body connection reason why mindful breathing is so very important. So we've had to take a few deep breaths because we have a few wonderful things happening in 2021, don't we? The things that we're excited about, there's 2 things. First, we want to talk about our masterminds. We focused our masterminds in some areas. You want to tell everybody what those areas are?
Absolutely. Let's bring it in with emotional intelligence, crucial conversation, and leadership techniques around communication and our mindset. We are generating a movement, people. You remember the Me Too movement? Well, that was significant and important, although it had to do with, you remember, right? We believe that hashtag Me Too spans all kinds of situations, and specifically in the leadership journey, we are on a me now quest. So let me be clear, our masterminds in the upcoming year are going to be hashtag Me Too, Me Now. For those of us who, yes, understand the chaos and some of the challenges, but who also have stories about overcoming mental obstacles and who are looking to tribe up and be better. As Michelle Obama would say, be better.
Yeah, I love that because really the reason why we talk about our movement going from Me Too to Me Now is Me Too keeps you stuck. It keeps you stuck in the victim story versus Me Now, which includes your victory story.
Yes.
There is something very powerful about moving out of victimhood, being in shame, rather than grace and gratitude and working through it, getting through it. There is a lot to be celebrated rather than be stuck. And shame is a big word that we use a lot in the Me Too movement. And I think sitting in shame too long does not take into account what we did to get out of that and all of those wonderful activities we did for ourselves with other people to fortify us and be the wonderful person we are now. And when you don't move from Me Too to Me Now, you take away all of that hard work and you nullify the celebration that maybe you haven't done yet.
Amen.
For me, it's about celebrating even small movements away from victimhood. And I had to celebrate real small movements when I was really understanding the level of victimizing that I was, my trauma, if you will. And so that's really important. That's really important. So a little bit back to our topic today, an attitude with gratitude. So you might surprise yourself. The bottom line is this. What we're saying is now that I personally, me, Jane, have done the hard work of digging out why was I irritated by the holidays? What were some foundational issues I struggled with, or maybe some traumatic incidences? Now that I've worked through those things, I am surprising myself with an attitude with gratitude. And remember, it's still having a little bit of that funkiness, but now I'm embracing the fact that I can be joyful or that joy is attainable, right? Because before, when you're living in your trauma and really feeling, I don't want to, I can't, I won't, that somewhat perpetuates the negativity, that perpetuates the funkiness, right? You get funky, people get funky around you, and it just goes round and round like a crazy cycle. And now that I'm really understanding, I can have both versions of me coexisting at the same time, fighting for what will win in the moment. I realized that when I let myself be joyful, some things come up. Some things come up and some activities that I'm actually doing are happening. And one of them is being mindful that I know what contributed to why I was funky about the holidays, being self-aware of these feelings that are going to come up over and over again. Now, will they come up in the same intensity? No, they simply won't. Sometimes they do, but usually it diminishes over time. And coming up and having some peace about what I choose to do and choose not to do surrounding the holidays. And again, the key word there is choice. You get to choose. You don't have to be persuaded by a force outside of you, even if the force is very strong, like family, spouse, or children. Okay, like out greater family, your significant other, or your children. And I know that's hard. I know I just said a really big thing, right? But for me, it was so empowering to say, I'm okay just sitting here and not giggling. I'm here to lend my presence, but I don't have to lend my whole everything, you know. And finally, harmony that with other people who want to do all those things, all the holiday things, and harmony with myself when I'm not feeling it. Because disharmony in yourself will create disharmony with other people. For me, I just had to agree with myself. Okay, I'm not feeling it right now. I'm going to take a walk while everybody's, decorating the gingerbread houses. I'm going to just take a walk. Nobody's going to care where I went. And I'm not going to have to make a big scene or an announcement that I'm opting out, right? And just being in harmony with that, just quietly doing my thing for a few minutes and coming back to their festivities, right? But really, the whole reason why this conversation came up, besides Deanna's observation of me getting all joyful and excited, was that a very simple thing. I remember walking down our stairs and seeing our mantle completely decorated with our tree, our nativity scene, and our stockings. And for the first time in a long time, I thought, that's really nice. No negative battlefield came up, no harumph or grinchy feelings came up. And I thought, wow, that's progress. That feels like progress. And we really hope that for you, you can experience some progress too. Any last thoughts, Deanna, before we close out today?
It's just so special to hear you share that, Jane. And also, I'd love to hear the thoughts of any of our listeners who might want to share their experience. It does come with the story. It does come with our memories. And, there are techniques that we can employ. And then there are also these me now aha moments that we realize after a time of thinking differently and engaging with ourselves and others differently, we end up having more joyful experiences. And so if the holiday is tough for you, we are here to celebrate that experience. And if this is your favorite time of year, we are here to celebrate that too. Because we're creating a brand new community here. We hope that you will join us every single week in the fun, frivolity, and all the sassiness you can handle.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for tuning into this week's Lipstick Leadership Legacy podcast. This is JaneTaff the Sage.
And Deanna Vestal, your career catalyst.
May your lipstick stay fresh and your attitude stay sassy. See you guys next time.